Hello Cowboys Nation! Here's another round of Dallas Cowboys news. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news from your team. Cowboys Mike McCarthy could be sacked after playoffs, ESPN insider. The Dallas Cowboys may win the NFC East on Sunday, but coach Mike McCarthy's job security apparently isn't stable. Dallas is preparing for its third playoff campaign under McCarthy, but has only won one postseason game in the last 2 years. According to ESPN reporter Adam Schefter, the Cowboys may not be committed to McCarthy in 2024. Although Schefter's latest reports don't openly say he's training for his job, Dallas could cut McCarthy loose if he suffers a major playoff loss. There continues to be a feeling from people around the league, and even some within the Cowboys organization, that head coach Mike McCarthy will be judged by how Dallas' final game goes, Schefter wrote on January 6. In the postseason, McCarthy would have an excellent chance of keeping his job. But if they struggle and end the season with an embarrassing loss, as they have in each of the last 2 years, some say change could come to Dallas. The Cowboys fell short under McCarthy, going 1-2 in the playoffs. Both defeats came against the San Francisco 49ers, who beat Dallas earlier this year 42-10 and will be the number 1 seed in the NFC this year. Cowboys DC Dan Quinn in line for HC job. Regardless of whether McCarthy makes the playoffs or not, the Cowboys may be preparing for the departure of defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. Quinn is having another successful season and may be ready for the head coaching job. The former Atlanta Falcons coach could also stay in Dallas, but Schefter suggests it could be as a coordinator or head coach. But there's a question about how long that will last and whether Dallas could convince him to come back for another season, which could influence any decision this team makes. The Cowboys don't want to lose Quinn, according to sources, and there are questions about what Dallas would be willing to do to keep him, Schefter wrote. Over the last 3 years, Dallas has become one of the most explosive defenses in the NFL under Quinn. Keeping him is arguably as important as finding the head coaching job. Dallas playing for the NFC East against the Commanders. On paper, the Cowboys' visit to the Washington Commanders should be a success. Washington is sporting a 4-12 record on the season and lost 45-10 to Dallas earlier in the season. But this is a similar situation to the end of the 2022 season, and one that ended badly for the Cowboys. With remote chances of winning the NFC East at the end of last year, Dallas had to beat Washington on the road to have a chance. Instead of winning, they fell short in a 26-6 defeat. The Cowboys managed to overcome the difficulty of the playoffs by beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their next game. But losing to an underperforming division rival at the end of the year is brutal, no matter how you do it. This year, the game matters even more. If Dallas wins, they'll host a playoff game and potentially avoid the 49ers until the NFC Championship game. Lose and they'll enter the postseason in a much darker state. Schefter, Cowboys unstable could sack Mike McCarthy. Frisco, as we've stated many times in our long-running coverage of the NFL, this is a never-say-never kind of deal. And yes, that always applies even to the Dallas Cowboys under owner Jerry Jones, who has one of the slowest triggers in the league when it comes to firing a coach. And yes, that always applies, at the same time, to the job security of said coaches. It's a pair of established facts holding hands. Mike McCarthy did an excellent job here, Jones' words, by posting his third consecutive winning season with a playoff berth, and B is expected to guide Dallas to another level. If at some point he can't do it? Hey, the head coach isn't the Pope or a Supreme Court justice. Eventually, before you die, you're gone. But does this mean that the issue of McCarthy's job security is shaky? Yes, according to some people who spoke to ESPN insider Adam Schefter. Per Schefter, there continues to be a feeling from people around the league, and even some within the Cowboys organization, that head coach Mike McCarthy will be judged by how the final Dallas game goes. Some people are also allegedly whispering to Schefter, if the Cowboys play well in the postseason, McCarthy would have an excellent chance of keeping his job. But if they struggle and end the season with an embarrassing loss, as has happened the last 2 years, then some say change could come to Dallas. We're not arguing against the validity of the idea of McCarthy facing demands for excellence. Again, this is old news. We often note the scenarios that could cause Jones to break ties here. Lose 50-0 in the wild card round, and let's revisit this. Is an exaggerated example of how we frame it. But what we can't do is quote a real source from within the Star who will say that partly because no real source can know what the exact bar of expectation will be, or exactly how failure will be measured. What if the Cowboys get to the Super Bowl and lose 50-0? In Schefter's words, wouldn't that end the season with an embarrassing defeat? Would McCarthy force some people at ESPN in that scenario be fired? How would they know that? ESPN can't know that either, but this weekend it's playing. The Some People Say game, with another story about the idea of Chief of Staff Will McClay leaving Dallas. With Aaron Rodgers, a paid ESPN employee, accusing Jimmy Kimmel of being linked to human sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, this has not been a good week for journalism in Bristol. At this stage, these reports are more about the ability to say "I told you so," if indeed there is a major change in the Cowboys' hierarchy, than about sources. Using this CYA technique, if McCarthy stays, ESPN can claim it never reported otherwise. And if he's fired, ESPN can claim that it reported first. And how can you, the NFL consumer, tell the difference between a report and a rumor? If Adam Schefter had sources instead of the blurry and vague "some people," he would have said so. Highest paid WR of all time? Jerry and CD discuss Cowboys contract. Frisco Jerry Jones doesn't want to talk about Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CD Lamb's new contract extension. How do we know that? Because Jerry Jones is talking about it. You guys know very well, Jones said later in the week on 105.3 The Fan, that you don't talk about your business and negotiations in a public forum. But, the magic Jerry but, meaning let's keep talking about what we're not going to talk about. Lamb enters Week 18 trailing league leader Tyreek Hill by just 66 yards, he's a Pro Bowler and will be a first-team All-Pro. Oh, and the fourth-year player's performance has set him up for a big payday, probably as early as this offseason. Related content: Lamb recently broke Cowboys franchise records for receiving yards and receptions in a single season in the win over the Lions, in which he delivered his 13-reception, 227-yard performance, complete with a 92-yard touchdown reception. The 227 yards gave Lamb 1,613 for the season, usurping Michael Irvin. Lamb now has 122 receptions on the year. Irvin's all-time best? He caught 111 in 1995. He's everything I thought he would be, Jones said of Lamb, the team's #1 pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. He's certainly achieved everything we thought he could be when we drafted him. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of your team's news. Thank you.